Fly me to the moon, I'm asked. Fly me to the moon. Well, I suppose my personal moon is the Marrakech Biennale, and I thought I'd talk to you tonight about how my mission was launched.
Either you're with us, either you love freedom and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy. There's no in between. You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
This message was being delivered to us by the British media over and over again. One spring morning in 2004, I finally snapped. How could our leaders be dealing with such a complex and nuanced situation with so little wisdom? I set off for a walk around the park, and I realized then that I had to do something, and I had to do it right away. It was then that all the strands of my life seemed to knit together, and the course of action that I had to take became clear. Like the rest of my family, I am dyslexic, which tends to make learning a living hell. My father hailed from a long line of high court judges, and when he was a kid, he remembered his mother saying, "You know, I simply don't understand it about Ted. He can tell you the names of all the planets in the sky, all the birds and flowers in the garden, but he can't learn how to read." My father later wanted to become an archaeologist, but family pressure made him study the law, and he struggled on as a barrister all his life. My mother was equally hopeless at school, but she was allowed to follow her passions as a dancer, as an adventurer, and a free spirit. As children, my brother, my sister, and myself were encouraged to follow our dreams. Passing exams meant very little in our family. It was evening meals with fascinating guests. It's where we collected our knowledge. Often fueled by my father's rather disgusting homemade wine, we would discuss world events, big stories of the day, history. Although our youthful opinions were often treated with roars of laughter, they were listened to and discussed. Pressure on children nowadays seems to be so goal-driven and with endless hurdles to clear and boxes to tick. Us kids, on the other hand, were encouraged to treat life more like a giant game of pinball. Mum had pulled back the mighty lever, and we were sprung forth at a fearsome pace to ping off from one great idea to the next, sometimes shooting off on tangents, sometimes hitting bonus points. And if our ball began to lose momentum, our dad would give our game a timely nudge to ensure that we were headed off in the right direction again. I ricocheted into secret love. I was hitchhiking around Italy with a beautiful boy. He was studying history of art at Cambridge University. Every evening, we would discuss what we'd seen in the day. He would test me on the names of the churches, the paintings and frescoes. We would sit together for hours, side by side, barely touching, as we pored over a reproduction of the work that we'd seen in that day. In my dreams, this was us. This was the reality. I've rarely felt so connected to another person, and I realized then how powerful art can be as a catalyst for discussing wider ideas. And of course, I went on to study history of art myself. The advantage of being dyslexic is that you're pretty much unemployable. So you have to set up your own business. I started a picture framing company, and I really learned about the art world from the bottom up. At the age of 23 in 1986, I opened an art gallery, and with some help of some remarkable friends, I went on to show a stable of artists, and one or two of these artists went on to be really internationally successful. Our mother urged us to have courage and ambition. I've already told you that she's a free spirit and an adventurer, but what I didn't mention is her steely determination to put her ideas and principles into action. I tell you this to explain my must-do spirit. Everyone has good ideas. It's putting these ideas into action that matters. Many years later, a great friend and I bought an old riad in Marrakech. We bought it as a holiday home, but having viewed it in the dark, we had no idea quite how big it was. And when daylight dawned, we realized we had no option but to transform it into a hotel. The people of Morocco welcomed us at every stage of the restoration. When looking at Riad Al Fen, we were told that in Morocco, anything is possible. But nothing is certain. With these immortal words ringing in our ears, we treated the entire venture as an enormous adventure. My love affair with the country had begun. And then the world went mad, and I had my George Bush moment. My personal experience of working in Marrakech was so at odds with what I was hearing on the radio. My experience was of people looking you straight in the eye, taking pleasure in conversations with humor and acceptance, the grace and elegance of every encounter beginning with assalamu alaikum and ending in a warm embrace. I would start a festival that used the arts as a platform for debate, a platform to stimulate ideas and build bridges, not only between different cultures, but between different artistic disciplines as well. In a city with little arts infrastructure, this was going to be quite a challenge. So I called a number of influential friends, fellow arts entrepreneurs, and a number of artists, filmmakers, writers, and musicians, to see if they would take part in the festival. And they all said yes. In 2005, the first Arts in Marrakech Festival was born. Over the years, the festival has grown and matured. After many adventures, mishaps, and triumphs, it's now the official Marrakech Biennale and recognized as one of the most respected, not-for-profit arts events in the world. It's the longest-running visual arts event in all of the Maghreb. In 2012, 4,000 people came to the Biennale for the opening weekend, and 66,000 people came over the following weeks. We embed the event into the very fabric of the city by inviting artists to produce all their work on site, using local artisans and know-how. One beautiful example of this is this piece by Eric van Hove, who's used over 40 master craftsmen using traditional crafts techniques to produce a Mercedes V12 engine exactly to scale. Here we go. We work with the language students of the Qadi Ayad University. Their help is invaluable. We twin each artist with a student, the artist gaining local knowledge of the ways of the city, and the students getting an understanding of all things to do with the world of the artists. We encourage local schools, hotels, galleries to take part in the fringe events, and we ensure that all the main events are translated into French, Arabic, and English. We all know that Marrakech has long been a city that artists have visited for inspiration. And one of the upshots of the recent contemporary focus is that now artists are not just passing through, but they're staying. In many cases, influencing the local design and craft scene, and generally enriching the city. Art, by its very nature, is political. We've never set out to be controversial, but neither have we shied away from contentious subjects. We've always felt free to discuss anything. One recent observer described the Marrakech Biennale as the Davos of the art world. And it's because of this that great filmmakers, writers, and artists are attracted to come. Nowadays, the Biennale is put together by a committed, hard-working international team. My dyslexic determination launched it, but they're the ones who make it fly. Our next edition is opening in February, and it'll be our most ambitious yet. With world events unfolding around us, I'm sure the Marrakech Biennale will continue to be a great example of the role that the arts should play in developing cultural relationships, stimulating curiosity and critical debate, and in developing a nuanced and deeper understanding between nations. The international media is getting excited, and now as I read story after story about the emerging creative scene developing in Marrakech, I love to think of my father looking down on me, knowing that he nudged me in the right direction once or twice. My thanks to Morocco for providing such a powerful spring to my pinball. My thanks to you all for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all in Marrakech in February. Thank you very much.